All right, everybody, John with the Paranormal Task Force. Today we're doing a recap video of Nevada State Prison. Of course, I've got Chris with me,
Well,
and we're going to go over some of the highlights from Nevada State Prison and just discuss the investigation overall. So, yeah, I mean, what was your thoughts? I mean, it was kind of imposing when we showed up there. Like, the place was huge.
yeah, it was a pretty big place, um, almost a little overwhelming. I mean, and there was a lot of areas we didn't have access to, right? But
Yeah.
uh, but it
But
would
yeah,
be,
pulling up in front of that place and just seeing it from the outside before we even went in was just kind of like, okay, this is wild.
yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely.
but yeah, I don't know. So we started the night, we went up and we set up some static cameras in culinary and in the death chamber. And then after we set those cameras up, we went to the women's wing, which is just outside of the death chamber, actually. Um, I thought there was some pretty interesting stuff that happened in there.
Yeah, there definitely was.
I mean, I don't know if you remember, but I remember from reviewing the footage. Um, at one point, we heard a scream.
Yeah, I remember hearing some type of scream or something from the distance, or
Yeah, I mean, even in the episode, I remember us saying on camera, that was a scream. That was a straight up yell. So that was pretty wild. Um, I think at one point you saw a shadow or something.
yeah, there was something I seen, something dark. It was like dark, but like I remember seeing something over there.
Yeah, so I mean, and then uh what I thought was pretty wild too is it said Christopher's name,
Oh yeah, that's when. Yeah,
and
when we were in
he was in the other cell, and we were like, well, which Christopher? And it said other room.
other room, yeah, that was
So
pretty crazy.
yeah,
Like that, like to ask a question like that and have it respond in that way after it says someone's name,
right.
which both of our names, right? But that was pretty crazy just off the bat in the beginning, right? It was
Yeah, I
just
mean that was pretty wild. Yeah, I mean, so the women's wing, there was some interesting stuff, I thought. Um, we stayed in there for quite a while. There was enough going on that we stayed in there for over an hour.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and if you remember when we got there, Susan had said that you'll get into certain areas and things will happen that'll keep you there and you'll lose track of time.
oh yeah,
And that's kind of how the women's wing was. Like we literally were in there for well over an hour without even realizing it.
yeah.
So that was pretty crazy.
What other
Um,
what other stuff did we go have on with devices? Do we have just like some temperature changes or something with the REM pod
the
out by the
REM
cell?
pod outside the cell, yeah, I think it was temperature changes because
I
it
remember it
wasn't a
going. I
REM
remember
pod.
it was going off.
Yeah,
Well,
I believe it was temperature changes. That we were getting on the REM pod, and then what else did we have? I mean, a lot of uh a lot of activity through some of the Spirit Talker. I think you had some activity on Necro. Um, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that I saw on camera that was hard to decipher from dust or bug or orb,
yeah,
but there was a lot of stuff flying around in the air, and I seriously doubt it was all dust. I mean, there was some pretty well defined orbs.
yeah,
But I don't point them out because you point out an orb and somebody says, oh, that was dust or that was this. So I don't even point them out. But there were a couple well defined orbs. And there was one I remember flew right towards my camera, and the shape of it was all just kind of weird. It was strange. If you watch the episode, and I believe that was episode 2. But
okay,
there was this weird anomaly that flew right in front of, like, towards me in front of my camera, and it was just this odd shape.
Dude, that's what's crazy about some of these orbs. Like they could be very odd shapes, right? Like
Yeah, I mean, it's,
the direction or the pattern, how it moves.
well,
So it
this
is,
looked, I mean, it was kind of like changing shape. It was really weird, but
yeah.
I think that was in episode 2. But I didn't highlight it, of course. I don't highlight anything except for something that we'll talk about later. Um, so let's see, after the women's wing, I think we went to culinary for the first time. That was our, other than setting up the static stuff, I think our first trip to culinary was after the women's wing. And we had some pretty interesting stuff in there. There was well, if you
I
remember,
remember.
we had
Well, I
music
remember
box
first.
activity when we were
Yeah.
sitting at the tables, and we had the music box pointed back towards the entrance.
That,
I mean, we had music box activity where, I mean, what
that
was
was one of the
moving
first
back
things
there
that
that was
happened in
making it
there.
go off, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh yeah. There was no one back there.
Right.
I mean, it was going off.
So I mean,
And
we had some music box activity back there. Um, we didn't get any tripwire activity that I saw when I was reviewing,
yeah, especially right where the guy got where
where
people
the
were
two guys
killed and
died.
stabbed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that did not. It seemed to not go off there.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't really get any tripwire activity. But the music box was going off. I think we were hearing a bunch of knocking and just different sounds. And
There were
um,
weird noises.
yeah, I think there was even some people were seeing some shadows, like
Yeah.
on the other side.
And what
Um,
was weird is when we first went in there, it was like you could feel a different vibe,
yeah.
like just this different feeling. Like I don't know, it was just weird
Well,
feeling going in there.
the vibe in there was definitely different the first time we went in to the last time we were in there. And we'll discuss what happened
Yeah,
the last time we went to culinary here in just a little bit, but it is definitely a different vibe. Um, when we went back later in the night, it was a much heavier. Uh, the air was heavier. It was just a much heavier feeling in there. Um, but but what was crazy? So we had some stuff going on there in the dining hall area. But when we went back to the kitchen, that was when things kind of started getting wild. If you
yeah,
remember, that's when the dead bell burned up.
yeah. The smell. Well, the dead bell was going off, right? But,
Yes,
like it
yes.
was going off. Like
It was going off, and then it started doing like a just a clicking noise. And then when you went
yeah,
over and picked it up and smelled it, it was like an electrical fire or something.
yeah, like an electric smell. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
it
burning
it
up.
it was absolutely wild. But um, and that thing was fully charged before we
Yeah,
ever pulled it out for
yeah. 'Cause
culinary.
at that point, you thought maybe it burned up for good, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It turns out, and I don't know that it actually did not. I can tell you that I was able to recharge it again and use it on the following investigation, but it was still putting out that odor.
smell,
Yeah.
really?
So I
Huh.
don't know. I don't know for sure that something didn't happen. But whatever happened, it definitely killed the bell. Um,
And wasn't
because
there
that thing was fully charged.
and there was flashlight activity, right? Wasn't
Yep.
there
Yep.
like
We
in the
got some flashlight
further
activity in
back
there.
from where that was?
Yeah, we did get some flashlight activity in there. I don't know if you remember, but so when the dead bell burned up, we put that candle out.
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember the candle.
And remember the candle shut off, and we
Yeah,
were
yeah,
thinking something happened to the candle. Well,
yeah.
come to find out, and you guys will have to forgive us because that candle was a new piece of equipment for us. And so that was our bad. Actually, what's supposed to happen is the camera or the candle is supposed to flicker. And then when there's an EMF spike, it's supposed to shut the candle off. And then
Oh, really?
the candle will come back on. So being that it was a brand new piece, we weren't planning on pulling that out at the
Yeah, yeah.
prison. However,
Well, it just got pulled out because of the dead bell, right? Like that's why.
exactly.
Like, yeah,
So being
really
it was a
cool.
brand new piece of equipment, we really didn't when it went off, we thought it killed the candle too. So, but that was our mistake. That's how it's actually supposed to work. So, but that signifies that there was a significant spike at that moment for the candle to go out.
In the same area, right? The same
Yeah,
exact
right.
area.
Because we put it right where we had the dead bell. And then I'm trying to think, and then there was some things that came through voice wise that I think we got something about the chef. And
Yeah, and it was. I remember it mentioning a few names as well, and we were
yeah.
wondering if those were the chef's names, possibly.
Well, I
Uh,
remember it mentioning something about the chef in the kitchen, which became relevant later in the night because we got something about the chef again, like
yeah,
later.
yeah, I remember that.
So that was interesting. Um, and so yeah, we had some good stuff happen in the kitchen. Um, and then after that, we wrapped up in the kitchen. And before we move on, I just want to say those guys at Nevada State Prison, Susan and her team there, amazing people.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
Nevada State Prison is definitely a location that we will be revisiting in the near future. Um, it was just an amazing experience. We got some pretty good activity. The team was amazing. Um, you know, the only thing I would say, even though I would have liked to have had them open the actual gas chamber for us,
Yeah,
that was
that
a
would have
little
been awesome.
disappointing. That was a little disappointing. Now Susan did promise us that the next time we come back, they would open it for us. But even though that was kind of a disappointment, I don't think by the end of the night it really mattered because
Yeah,
we
really.
spent so much time everywhere else.
Yeah,
So, but Susan, if you're watching this, we're gonna hold it to you. Next time we come, we want that gas chamber open.
and we
So
won't lay on it. We won't sit on it.
yeah, yeah.
We
I just
won't.
want to.
Yeah,
I've seen some other people go in there,
yeah.
and some of the activity that they have gotten inside the chamber
You know
is
what?
pretty cool.
I remember we heard a noise in there. I don't know if everyone
We
was on
heard,
it.
yeah, after culinary, we went to the death chamber and there was tapping on the glass.
Yeah, it
Remember,
sounded
because
like
we were
that.
sitting in
Yeah.
the viewing area. We were sitting in the viewing area, which has those three big glass panes. And there was a couple times where we heard something tapping on the glass. And I pointed out in the video, I believe, when we heard it, I was like, dude, did you just something just tap on
Yeah.
the glass right
Yeah, I
here?
remember that. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did get that. Um,
And what's crazy is that room has pictures of people that were put down in there, right? All those
yes,
pictures in that room. So
yes,
that's why I was trying to focus and read some names, try
right.
to see if some of those names come through, right? Like something
Yep.
that we hear about, oh, that's the dude that was put down over here at this time. But
You know, the other crazy thing is when we were in the women's wing, there was actually some interesting stuff captured on the static camera that we left in the death chamber. Um, I can't remember off the top of my head, but if you guys watch episode 2, you'll see I cut to the static camera in the death chamber because there were some interesting things that came through the portal and some interesting noises.
which it almost like matched up with what not matched up, but it was almost like it was
It
communicating
correlated with things that
correlated.
were
Yeah, that's
happening
it.
in the women's. So it was
Yeah,
like, I think one of them was I don't know if you remember, but in the women's section, I got chilled up real bad, and the hair on my arms stood up, and I was like, dude, there's something around me. And on the static camera in the death chamber at that same moment, it said standing behind you or standing next to you or something like that. So there was some
Yeah, right at
real
about the same
interesting
time.
correlations, right? But death chamber, we caught some noises. A lot of names came through. Um, Trying to think of what else. Well, we had Christopher freak out thinking that he saw the
Well,
tripwire go off.
yeah, that's where he thought the tripwire, right? Which we didn't know till I tried to scan back and look real quick. You
Right.
know, not when we were there,
Yeah.
but that's when we noticed it was the
It was
REM
one of
pod.
the, it was a temperature change on the REM pod.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was like the blue light on the REM pod lit up, and like he jumped out of his chair thinking it was the tripwire,
Which
you
probably
know.
because it would have been cool because we're like, oh, we're using this tripwire.
Right.
It'd be awesome to see it work. And then so at
Yep.
that moment he thought, oh, like he overreacted because he's seen a light flash,
Yeah.
which would have been awesome if it was the tripwire. But hey,
Yeah.
we still
Well,
got a spike of something. We
you
got something.
know, I mean, it was his first time, his first investigation. But he
Yeah,
did seem a little paranoid all night. Um,
yeah. He seemed pretty scared. And
yeah.
it kind of feeds off those fears, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Well,
why they
yeah. I
call it,
mean, they say that things feed off of fear,
and that's
but
probably why it's calling his name out more than
yeah,
once,
right.
right?
It called his name
Like,
out twice, which we'll
what's the
talk about the
chances of
second
that?
time. We'll
What
talk
is
about
the
the
chance?
second time here in a little bit. But yeah, it
That,
called his name out twice. Um, so yeah, so Death Chamber, we got a little bit of activity in there. Um, I mean, we probably stayed in there a little too long. And we didn't really venture into the last night's cells,
yeah.
you
I
know?
remember I went back there because I remember at one point I went back there because I heard another noise,
Right.
and I remember going back there, and yeah, that was kind of crazy.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So when we go back, obviously we're going to, spend more time in areas that we didn't on the first, investigation. Um,
And I think we
Maybe,
could do a lot more in some of the actual cells too.
well,
Again,
that's what
right?
I was going to
Like the
say. More
cell.
time in the cell block. Maybe, spend some time, obviously the death chamber again, but maybe spend some time in the last night's cells, and hopefully Susan inside the death chamber.
Well,
Um,
and isn't there the upper facility or something they
the
mentioned,
upper
or
yard, which yeah,
a
she
whole
did
area we
mention
weren't
that
able to
next
see?
time we come, they would let us in there. But she
That's
also
all.
did say that that's like Black Widow Central, so I don't know. We
Or I don't know. Well, I
you got to
remember.
remember we're walking around there in the dark,
Yeah.
you know. And the last thing we need to do is get bit by a Black Widow on an investigation.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. I mean, I know she mentioned the upper yard. She mentioned opening the gas chamber. So we'll
Uh,
see what happens when we go back. But
Speaking of that, I remember it just reminded me of for some odd reason when it something came through. It said burned. Do you remember where we're at, or it said something like burn or something? And you mentioned how the original prison caught fire.
yeah, I don't remember. That
I
might have
can't
been
remember.
at the end of the night when we were in the yard.
Was it?
I think so. Yeah. Which we're gonna be getting into that here shortly because that is by far where we captured the best video evidence
Well,
we've ever captured.
even before that, in the culinary leading up to that, right? That's
Yeah.
like started getting kind of crazy
Yeah.
to what led to what we
Well,
see.
and that's the thing. So we left the death chamber and we decided we were going to go back to culinary and conduct an Estes session because in culinary, there were two prisoners that were killed in a riot right there in culinary. So, we figured we'd go back there, do an Estes session, and see if we could make contact with anybody. And we ended up having to end the Estes session early because something affected me. I started, and you can see it on camera. You can tell I'm starting to have trouble swallowing, and like
Well,
my
the whole time
demeanor
I could see.
changes.
Well, it starts off with your hands. You can see your hands
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
you're
well,
doing
yeah.
something like
You watched the episode. You can see my whole demeanor changes. I start fidgeting with my hands.
Looks like you swallow your throat like a couple
Yeah,
times.
I start having trouble swallowing. I'm getting lightheaded, and the topper on it was I got really sick to my stomach where it felt like I was gonna throw up. I wasn't sick. They just
Yeah.
came on all of a sudden during the
Which
Estes
is
method, and
which is crazy.
we were probably, I don't know, 10 minutes into the Estes method, something like that, when I
Oh,
started becoming affected. And you could kind of tell in my speech too. My speech started slowing down a little. Um, so we pulled you out. I was like, dude, we gotta get out of here.
yeah, and because I
And
didn't know what was going on. That was my first time ever doing that, so
right.
I was just focused on, I couldn't hear anything and I couldn't see anything. I was
And
just focused on whatever I could hear. I'm going to say it as soon as I hear it. You know what I mean? And that's all I was focused on. I had no clue what was going on. Like,
yeah,
technically, I couldn't even remember the things I said until I watched the episode. Like I was like, oh, I said that. I was
right.
like, that reminds me of something else we heard, or kind of goes with this, or it's kind of crazy hearing even things I said because I couldn't remember like what I
Well,
said.
and that was the thing too, is as soon as we pulled out of there, as soon as we walked outside, I felt perfectly fine. So it was something in there causing those feelings. And it was also weird because when we first walked in there to do the Estes method, I even commented on how different it felt in there because we had been in there twice before that, setting up the static and then doing the sessions in culinary in the kitchen. And when we went in there to do the Estes method, it was a completely different feeling. It was heavier. It was just dreadful. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It was a much different feeling. And so we pulled you out. And as soon as we went outside, it all went away. I was fine. So, and this was bringing us, towards the end of the night, and we had a little bit of time left. So we decided, hey, we're going to conduct a session out here in the yard. So, for anybody that's familiar with the prison, just in front of the culinary building, there's two picnic benches that run along the sidewalk that goes from, where they
Well, I
set you
remember
up.
right from there, you could kind of see the basketball courts,
Right.
some of the
The
weight
weight
benches they
benches,
had out
all of
where
that.
people
Yeah.
lifting.
All that stuff's right there. And these two benches are right in front of culinary. So we decided we were going to sit there, regroup, conduct a session out in the yard, see if we got anything. And we started getting some crazy stuff, man. Like at one point, I think it was on my device, it said, come back in alone.
Yeah, yeah. And you got to think that was a little bit after we got out of there because you
Right.
were feeling sick. The vibe was just crazy.
Yeah.
And then now
And
this device is saying, go back in there.
yeah,
Like,
it said like come back in alone or something like that.
and it was
And
kind of eerie to like hear that. And then
right.
you look from a distance at this building we just left. So it's
Yeah.
like you're looking at this building saying, come back in. Like, that
And
was weird.
yeah, it said come back in alone or something along that line. And then it said
It,
something else, but then it said Christopher again.
And you know what's weird is I remember because when I watched that episode again, yours said Christopher, mine's popped up and said like Crystal at the same time, which is almost a
Yeah.
similar name, but it was weird. It was like, and you got to think that's still the second time it said Christopher.
Well, and
Like,
not only was it the second time it said Christopher, but that was the first time it said Christopher was on your device in
oh
women's.
yeah, yeah, that was
This time it was on my device in the yard and it said Christopher. So it was two different devices. And
all separate.
it was two different apps. It was two different apps because you were running Necro in women's and I was running Spirit Talker. So it was two different apps, two different devices, and it said Christopher twice. So we So we started kind of clowning around with Christopher because we knew he was scared. And
Even
you
though he'll
know,
claim that he claims in the video he wasn't.
right,
He was
right.
very
He kept
scared.
claiming he wasn't scared. I'll go back in there right now, whatever. So, we sent him back in there. And needless to say, that didn't last long. He came right back out
Yeah,
and
right
said, I
back.
don't like it. Mm,
I think I remember hearing him say, "Oh, he opened up the door and felt heat or something hit him in the
yeah.
face," and he was like, "He was nope," and just walked right back.
But yeah, so
Which
it was out in the yard during that session that we got some, I believe, is when we got something about blaze or something, and I happened to mention, hey, remember the initial prison burned down.
okay.
Um, so
And,
that was
and
kind of
didn't you hear
relevant.
it? And then didn't you hear a laugh? Like a
Yes.
lot of crazy
Af-
stuff was going on.
yeah, after Christopher came back out,
And
you were
after we were
kind of
giving him
laugh.
shit,
You giggled
right?
at something that he about him or about him coming back out. You giggled, but then I clearly heard from the culinary building behind us. I heard a laugh.
Yeah.
It
This
was
is
really
where
strange.
things.
But see, then it was right after that. It was right after that laugh that we captured the best video evidence we've ever captured on camera. Okay. For those of you that have not watched that episode, you need to watch that episode all the way through because at the end, right when this part we're talking about happens at the end of the video. I heard a laughing. We're talking about me hearing the laughing. And my camera, which was sitting on the picnic table, stationary, looking at the REM pod that we had set up on the sidewalk, all of a sudden, a free floating black mist floats across the sidewalk and into the yard, into the darkness. Most, I mean, the best evidence video evidence that we've captured ever.
Yeah.
Okay. It was,
That's
there was no explanation for it. And I don't usually point out evidence, but that I had to point out because I was blown
well, and
away
it
by
and
it.
it just shows. Even when you're on an investigation, you don't catch it when you're
Exactly.
filming. And you got so much going on. You got to keep your eye out really good,
Well,
reviewing and editing while you're
yep.
editing. Like,
And that's the whole thing. A lot of stuff you don't see until the review process or the editing stage. But that black
that was
mist
shocking.
was so impressive that I actually emailed the clip to Susan at the prison. And even she was astonished by it and was like, wow, that's a great catch, you know? And then she shared it to their page. And then a few people posted on there how that was a great catch. I mean, it was literally, you could tell it couldn't have been anything else.
Yeah,
It,
definitely not a dust thing that looks like an orb or.
yeah, it was
I
it
mean,
was a free
it's not
floating black
shadow.
mist. And it was the thing about it is it was black, but it was transparent. As it floated across the sidewalk, you could still see the sidewalk. Like it
Yeah,
was literally just a black mist.
yeah, and on that clip you slowed it down more, right? So that's
Yes.
where
I
with the slow down you
well,
could
I
tell more of
didn't
the form.
I didn't in the video, but I did slow it down and I am going to be posting just that clip slowed down as a YouTube short on the channel. Um because that's an impressive piece of evidence.
Yeah, and it's
Um
much different watching it. Like watching it on the video right away, even when you point it out, it
yeah.
happens kind of quick. Even
Well, yeah,
though,
it went across rather quickly, right?
yeah,
Which is why I'm surprised that I even caught it. But
yeah,
it went across rather quickly and then disappeared into the darkness. But when I slowed it down, you can really
just
just see it. And so yeah, so I will be posting that slowed down clip on the channel as a short. I'm also going to put it on our TikTok. Um, and you can see it in slow motion. Um, but that was
you see, and in a way, when that happened, obviously that's when all that crazy stuff was happening.
right.
and then we were on the verge of already calling it a night, and I felt like it was almost like it knew we were almost done investigating or something, right? And
Yeah.
then it was just like, okay, I'm on my way or something.
It was
That's only
almost like, all right, I'm gonna leave you guys now.
yeah,
And when it went across the sidewalk, I mean the video ends shortly after that because then there was nothing else coming through.
yeah.
Like everything,
We were wrapping it up. Like
yeah, everything was pretty much, we had stopped getting any activity. Like right after you saw that mist
yeah.
going away from us, the activity stopped. And so that's when we wrapped it up and called it a night. And so that's pretty much where the video ends.
So it makes you wonder, like it followed us from the culinary out there, I would think,
And
right?
I
Like,
mean, who knows? I mean,
I
I
know you
know
didn't
they've
feel a
said
stick
they've
anymore, but
captured shadow figures and mists and stuff like that in the yard,
yeah,
but I don't know. I mean, it blew me away when I saw it. I was blown away by it because, we've done a few investigations now, and we've yet to capture anything like that on camera. And that was just, yeah, it was just, to me, it was an amazing piece of evidence.
yeah, because
So
something visual that's not like a device going off or something.
exactly,
That's like the top tier of what you want to show. That's what you want to see. Uh,
exactly. So yeah, it was good, man. And so
Hopefully, you can catch something like that again sometime.
it was right after that we wrapped it up. We called it a night. Um, and we left Nevada State Prison. But I will say, from the experiences we had there, we've already agreed that we need to go back.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, because there's still so much more to do. So other places to hang out in and do.
right.
Like there's so
And
much more.
so we will be going back. I don't know when. Obviously, there's other locations that we are trying to get done. And you know, but we will definitely be back to Nevada State Prison. Um, and conduct another investigation there because it was good. And I really liked the team there. They were really friendly. They you know
Informative in the beginning, telling us
right. And then
everything about the place.
they just let us roam and do what we were doing. I mean, they didn't bother us at all. We
Yeah,
didn't even see them till we were done, you know. Um, but definitely a location that we'll visit again for sure. Um, Next weekend, or actually I should say this because today is what, Sunday.
yeah, Sunday.
So in about a week, we will be investigating another location, but you'll have to keep an eye on
Wait
the
to see.
channel. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I
That's
will
gonna
tell
be
you we're going to Virginia City. That's the only thing I'm going to say. I'm not going to name the location, but we are going to Virginia City in a week and doing an investigation up there. So keep your eye on the channel for that. Um, those episodes for that investigation will actually be dropping here very soon. So we just finished the episodes for the prison. The episodes coming up. So we're not having an episode this week because we're having this recap
oh
video.
well to them it's just gonna flow into the week, right?
Right. So there's no investigation today because we're doing this recap video.
Yeah.
But next Friday, and actually by the time you guys see this video, we'll pretty much be heading to Virginia City. But
Pretty much.
so next Friday, we will have the first episode of our Clown Motel episodes airing.
And
So
that's with you and Steve, another partner.
right. That one was me and Steve, and that'll be airing next Friday, the first episode from that. Then right after that is when our episodes from our Virginia City investigation will be airing. So that's how quick those are coming up. It took a little while to get the ball rolling with the editing, And that's why, like, I mean, Nevada State Prison, I mean, we just finished those episodes and put them up, but we did that investigation in April,
Yeah.
so, but now it's getting to where investigations are getting posted sooner because, we don't have a lot in the bank to
Yeah.
put up, so
Which that's
when
the
we
whole
first
thing you want to
started, I
do.
mean, we were doing investigations to where we had all this footage stored up to edit and everything, so it held us for a little while. But
Well, that was useful for your vacation, right?
yes, that allowed me to go on vacation, so that was nice. But yeah, so next week you will see the first episode of the Clown Motel, which was, it was an interesting location.
It should be interesting
Problem,
for me since I wasn't there. So
yeah,
curious on what you guys got.
it'll definitely be a location I'll go back to. Um,
Well, I've definitely seen other videos. I've seen other uh, investigators do that place, which seemed pretty cool.
yeah,
Kind of curious what you guys got there.
we had some interesting stuff. I mean, I felt like it could have been. Well, I'll save that for the
Like,
recap.
yeah, you should have a wrap up video for that.
Yeah. I'll save that for the recap of that. But so yeah, so then shortly after that, once all the Clown Motel episodes air, our investigation that we're doing in Virginia City next week will be starting to air. And then after that, I've got some things in the works, so we'll see what episodes come after that. But there will definitely be content one way or another. So,
And eventually, when the channel blows up a lot more, aren't you gonna do some merch and stuff? Like,
oh
have you
yeah,
told
definitely,
anyone this?
definitely. Once once the channel starts becoming more active, I mean, we're right at like 200 subscribers now, which is good. I
Which is
appreciate every
slowly
one of them.
climbing.
But I definitely like to see a lot more interaction on the channel as far as likes and comments. Likes and comments, guys, are how it helps our videos in the algorithm, right? So the way you can help us to have other people see our videos is to like and comment on the videos. All right. That helps it in the algorithm. It puts it in front of more audience, which will then help us with subscribers and so forth, and help us, because we can't even right now, we can't even monetize the channel yet. So everything we're doing as far as investigations is right out of pocket. Okay.
Yeah.
The goal of the channel obviously is to get to a point where we can monetize the channel and then use that money that we make from the channel to pay for further investigations, so we're not having to come out of pocket for that.
Yeah, that possibly collab with other creators
Exactly,
going on
collabing with other
together,
YouTubers,
or even if it's
things
getting.
like that. And but you know, we need that following. We need to build this channel. And granted, we've only been at it for a few months, and so I'm happy where we're at. I appreciate every single subscriber we have.
Yeah, and those are slowly climbing. I mean, it's
Oh
not like
yeah,
you started any promotion. You didn't try to promote it anyhow, like how
no,
you could promote companies or videos or anything.
no,
Like this is
and
all.
that's the thing. And again, all you guys got to do to help us is like the videos and comment on the videos. And that's going to boost it up in the algorithm, and it's going to let other people see it, which is going to have other people subscribing to the channel. And it doesn't cost you guys anything to do that for
And it
us.
could be any comment, their thought of anything, right? Like
Yeah, oh yeah. I've
something they
I've
think
said
should be done
before.
better or
I mean,
anything.
comment on what you liked about the video. Comment on, what you'd like to see us do differently.
Or comment on a
Those
place, some place to do,
right.
investigate,
Comment
right?
on locations you'd like to see. I don't really care, because even if it's a comment that you make that, oh, I'd like to see you guys do this differently. We use that as constructive criticism, guys. We don't look at that and go, oh, they don't like us. It's,
Critique all you want, right?
we're just getting on this journey ourselves. So, those comments can help us do things differently that might make the channel better. All right. So again, the channel is for you guys. You know, we enjoy doing these investigations, but the whole reason we film them and put them on YouTube is so that you guys can see these locations and see what we're seeing when we go and investigate. Otherwise, we could go, conduct an investigation for ourselves because we just enjoy it. But,
Yeah.
The whole purpose of
And
putting this
you
stuff
don't have
on
to worry
YouTube,
about editing.
right? I wouldn't have to worry
All
about
that
editing.
stress.
You know how much time that would save me? But
Yeah.
again, we put this out there for you guys, right? We want you guys to be able to see these locations as well and see what we're seeing while we investigate. So again, it's free. Like the videos, comment on the videos, and help us, boost the channel, because that's going to make way for us to do a whole lot more investigations. And the more investigations we can do, the more content there is for you guys to watch. It's a win-win for everybody. So please like, comment on the videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and share the videos with your friends. That's another way you can help us build the channel. Share the videos with your friends, tell them to subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, you've been putting highlights out, or you're trying to get in the habit of highlights of some of the stuff.
Yeah, I haven't been as active with that as I could. Like I do on our TikTok channel, I've put some highlights up to try to drive more people to the channel. But
That's an easy thing
I think I am going to start now that we're pretty much kind of caught up on episodes that we had in the backlog. I am going to start doing more shorts and more TikTok stuff to kind of help promote the channel and bring more people in.
Yeah, because you got to think it's easier for them to share when they're on another platform too. Like,
right.
if they're just on TikTok or this, it's like, hey, share, boom.
Right. So yeah, so I mean, there's
them.
there's a lot of stuff that we can do to help boost the channel, that we can do and that the viewers can do. So the more you guys can help us, great, because again, it's free for you, and it'll help us build and be able to start hitting some of these bigger locations that we want to do without having to pay that out of pocket. Because I mean, some of these locations, to be totally transparent, some of the locations we want to do is like $1,500 for the night.
Yeah. Huh.
I mean, that's a lot for somebody to come out of pocket.
And then you got to
make content for you for free. So,
and that's one place you're trying to bank them up to last.
Exactly.
Pumping out.
So ideally, what we would like to do is go on a road trip, maybe like a 2-week road trip, and hit a bunch of locations back to back to back for 2 weeks. Right. Yeah, that would give us enough content to bring you guys for probably 6 months, but a road trip like that is expensive by the time you calculate paying for each location.
And that's with the way you drop the episodes, because you don't like the episodes long.
Right. I don't. So, and that's the thing, I don't want to get in the habit of making, videos that are 3 or 4 hours long, because when we go to a location, we're there for 10 to 14 hours. Right. And we're filming the entire time. So you're essentially, even if it's an 8-hour investigation, you're taking 8 hours of footage and trying to condense that, right, without missing anything. And you
want them to see it from our point of view.
Exactly.
Right?
There's a lot of things that I cut out that are, I guess, what you would consider like dead space. But there's a lot of things that I leave in that might seem boring because there's nothing happening. But I do that because I want you guys to be able to see what it's actually like on these investigations. Okay. There's a lot of videos out there where it seems like the minute they walk in the door, they're getting activity after activity after activity. It doesn't happen like that, guys. All they're doing is they're cutting it all together. So they're taking their 8 hours of investigating and only cutting out the evidence
Yeah,
and
bring
putting
it
that,
to one hour,
like it's
maybe
all
1 hour.
happening at once. And it doesn't work like that. And that's why our videos are the way they are. I want you to see, because if you're really interested in the paranormal and you're interested in what we're doing, you should be interested in how this transpires, right? Not just, ooh, that happened, that happened, that happened, but okay.
I mean, the only way possible is if we're going to places every night.
Right.
Then maybe we would have to cut it down because it's like, okay, let me get to the point on this.
Exactly. But
But
so we try to bring you the episodes the way the investigation from our standpoint, right? Some of the setup so you can kind of see what goes into it, and then some of the dead space where we're in an area and we're asking questions and nothing's happening. I mean, that is part of the investigation. So we try to keep the episodes to an hour, 45 minutes on some, depending on what everything looks like. But
where it kind of ends off in the video, or you don't want to end
right.
off in some weird
So,
spot.
I mean, I try to keep them to like an hour just because it's a lot easier for you to sit in front of your computer or TV or whatever for an hour and watch an episode than if I put out a 4-hour investigation, right?
But don't get me wrong, some of those people that do that, they do have very good content too.
Oh,
But
awesome. And like I said,
I'm
none
a
of
huge
this is
fan
to
of
bash
one.
anybody because I watch those same people. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm subscribed to all those same people. But I will say, even from my standpoint, when I watch somebody that's got a 3 or 4 hour investigation video, I don't watch it all at once.
Or you end up walking away after a little bit because you got to go do something.
Exactly.
Then you're having to rewind it or like.
So that's the reason I chose to do what we do, and that's keep the episodes to like an hour long. So that's why you'll see, one location is like 4 episodes because I'm taking, the prison, we were there for 9 hours, right? So I'm taking 9 hours of video, condensing that into 4
or 3,
and
depends
then
on.
splitting that up into 1 hour episodes to make it easier for you guys to view. So
and there has to be enough interesting stuff in that hour as well.
Yeah.
There's gonna be
and again,
stuff
that's something we're doing in consideration of the viewer, in my opinion, because like I said, I can sit down and watch a 1 hour episode a lot easier than I can 3 or 4 hours. So
well, and it's the people that's really interested in investigating on their own,
right,
that really want to see it that way.
Exactly.
Now you might have other viewers that are just, I want to see the crazy shit when I'm just going on a highlight and seeing all this crazy shit. Like you just want action.
And that's why I said, that's why the comments are important too. I mean, right now we've got like 200 subs. We don't know what those people want, right? So unless you comment on the video and tell us, hey, I like this format, or hey, I don't like that you don't highlight the evidence, or, comment on something. I mean, we don't know where, what we can change or improve or anything like that, right? So that's why it's important for you guys to comment on these videos. All right.
Speaking
Again,
of
the videos are for you guys. We're the ones doing the investigations. We're doing what we're enjoying, right? Which is investigating. But the videos are for you guys to enjoy. So if you're not commenting and giving us some kind of feedback, we don't really know what you guys are after. So if you like comments, the format, comment that you like the format, that you're happy with the way things are. That's fine.
Well, I know we talked about the comments, how about eventually you're going to be on the live, like when it drops.
Yes. So
you want to be able to
right now, when episodes premiere, I have not been in the chat. And a lot of that was because, I went in there a couple times and there was nobody in there.
Because right now you get a lot, all your subscribers.
And the thing is because we don't, our subscriber base isn't that big. So when I've gone into the chat during the premiere, there's nobody in there, right? So I haven't been going into the chat. but if more people are going to start participating in the live chat during the premiere, then I'm more than happy, as long as I'm available, I'm more than happy to go in there and interact with you guys. Okay.
It,
So that's something else that you can comment. Hey, I want to be in the live chat when the premiere happens. Okay. So let's do that. Right.
and that's where you could start doing polls and stuff too. You could ask questions like,
right.
"Hey, what do you think about this? Should we do this?" Boom.
Well, and another thing that I mentioned too is possibly, if people are interested, possibly doing some live chat videos, right? Like, going live and discussing whatever people want to discuss, locations, investigation techniques, equipment that we use. I'm totally fine with doing stuff like that, but I'm not just going to do it because I don't know if that's something that you guys want, right? So I asked people on my last video, prior to the episode when I was talking, I told them, if that's something they're interested in, comment on that video and let me know. There hasn't been any comments on the video, right? So, the comments, guys, are how you communicate with us and let us know what it is you're interested in, what you're looking for. What we can do to make your viewing experience even better. And that's the whole purpose behind like I said, the channel is for you guys. I mean, for us, we can go do investigations whenever. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely we need to build the channel. We've got to be able to go, to bring you guys the content we want to bring you. We have to be able to monetize the channel and start making money with the channel before we can start doing some of these bigger locations. I mean, we did USS Hornet, which was an arm and a leg, right?
Yeah.
Even Nevada State Prison.
There's some reasonable, but even that reasonable, you pay too many of those reasonable prices, it's still too expensive.
Well, yeah. I mean, you do, even Nevada State Prison. I mean, that was like half the price of the Hornet. It was a great location. But if you did a location like that, 6, 7, 8 times, it adds up.
And it's not just how much it costs there. It costs for travel.
Right.
You got all that stuff. Hotel.
Exactly. And that's the whole reason, again, that's the whole reason we want to monetize the channel, because we want to help offset those costs so we can bring you more content without having to break our personal banks, right? Again, monetizing the channel, helping us monetize the channel and get where we need to be, doesn't cost you a dime. Okay. But it helps us out a lot to bring you guys more and better content. So, I mean, some of the big places we want to do, I mean, Pennhurst and Waverly, those places are, an overnight there is expensive. So, and then not to mention, you got a lot of travel involved, because now going to, to do Pennhurst, you're talking about a flight, hotel. So,
and you're not assuming, it's going to cover all costs neither. Just
something
to contribute, something that helps.
Not at all. One day, and that's another reason that, eventually, like Chris mentioned, we've talked about doing some merch. Any money we make from merch is going to go towards investigations. That's not going to go in our pocket. It's going to go to help pay for locations and investigations. So, I've been thinking about putting out merch, but, we're just now hitting 200 subscribers. We don't have a lot of interaction from those subscribers. So I don't really want to start putting out merch until people start becoming involved with the channel. But I think the first merch we're going to do is probably a t-shirt with just the Paranormal Task Force logo on it. And like I said, you buy a shirt, all that money is going to go right back into helping us do investigations so we can bring you guys the content. So, yeah, enough on that. I don't want to keep harping on that, but please like and comment on the videos. That's the easiest way you can help us, and it doesn't cost you anything. Um, Outside of that, subscribe to the channel, share the channel with your friends, help us build the channel. And we will continue to bring you guys all this content. We have fun doing this. We enjoy doing this. So, our goal is to be able to get to a point where, we can continue to bring you guys an episode every week, but if we don't find a way to offset some of those costs, it's going to be kind of hard. I guess that's the easiest way I can put it. But outside of that, guys, Nevada State Prison, amazing location. If you guys are ever up in Carson City, I know they do some daytime tours. So if you're not necessarily interested in going on an overnight there, I know they do some daytime, like historical tours where you can go in and see the prison. You should definitely do that. And then I know from time to time, what's that?
They have a cool gift, and they have that cool gift shop.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Where some of the shirts are actually made. Don't the inmates make the shirts?
A lot of the stuff is made by inmates. Yes. But they also from time to time do like public ghost walks where maybe you don't want to necessarily go spend the whole night in the prison like we did, but you want to go and experience some of the paranormal stuff that goes on there. You can go and do one of their, paranormal ghost walks and
that's pretty cool.
Experience it that way. So, but if you're a paranormal team that hasn't been there, definitely do an overnight at the prison. It's well worth it. And Susan and her team are great. All right. So I don't know. Other than that, you got any final thoughts on Nevada State Prison?
Not really. I mean, I think we talked about a lot of the stuff, like stuff that I thought was crazy. I thought it was a pretty cool place. Everyone there that we met was really cool. Just a cool place, and I'll be excited to go back again.
I think it was a little much for Christopher though, for his first time.
Yeah, he didn't know what to expect really. I mean, even though we did do a small little place before, like at Lake Herman, but this was overwhelming. I mean, you got to think you're in this huge prison,
right?
She tells us everything about the place before, so you hear about all this crazy stuff,
right?
Yeah, he was scared, even though he could say he wasn't. He was scared.
I think we might have. We should have started him off on something a little lower scale.
Yeah. The Hornet would have been okay, but takes time sometimes. Not everyone's the same, so
yeah. But no, it was good. We had a good time. We got some good evidence, and we'll definitely be back. So, but with that, guys, if you don't have anything left to say, Chris, we're gonna go ahead and end this one. And remember, like and comment on the videos, subscribe to the channel, share the channel with your friends, and we will see you guys in the next video.
All right, sounds good.